West Coast dished up one of the most embarrassing performances that we've seen in a long time against St Kilda on Sunday, going down in their second 100-point loss for the season.
Today, we're going to be breaking down how these losses happen, the game plan tweaks that need to be made for a must-win game against the Tigers, who are set for an AFL return and maybe another WAFL win.
It's Match Review Tuesday this week with Kurt and Ryan. Let's unpack it. Yes, Golden Wingers, good to be back.
Good to be back, guys.
Sort of good to be back because what was that, mate? It's a shocking week to come in, to be honest. I'm glad that we've had the extra day recording with the public holiday on Monday because the emotions were pretty high.
Yeah, it was a tough day of reflection, really, yesterday. Yeah. I was sitting there, pretty relaxed day, to be honest. A horrible day in the wet if you're over here in Perth.
Wasn't it?
But yeah, it was a pretty tough day on Sunday to watch that 100-point loss against the Saints.
100%, but it's good to have Rhino back with me this week. Just
Thanks
a little disclaimer. This will probably be our last podcast for a few weeks, which is a little bit sad. So we thought we better come in and do one and face the music, and hopefully we'll be able to give you a little bit of insight. We sort of tried to break down how these losses sort of eventuate.
Yeah.
Try and piece together a little bit of a roadmap going forward to try and, turn the form around and just a little bit of a melting pot of ideas this week.
Yeah.
So that should be fun. But it's good to have you back, mate.
Thanks, mate.
We've seen some big losses over the years. Is this one of the worst that we've seen?
I think this is arguably the worst that we've seen. Probably one of those games where you think this might be a tight game that we've done well at Marvel previously. I remember the Dogs game quite a few years ago where we won that game out of nowhere and got that win. But yeah, one of those games where you couldn't believe that 100-point scoreline was going to occur and dominated start to finish, really. There was a few moments where you think from quite a few individuals where it's like, yeah, these players are going to be good, but the senior players we're not seeing yet, which is very sad to see.
No, 100%. And we'll get to that in a minute. Andrew McAlder in his press conference, conceded that the team has gone backwards over the last few weeks. And to be honest, it's already a pretty low bar that they've set for themselves. But we feel like that might have been misinterpreted a little bit, and he's sort of given the media a little bit of fuel to their fire.
100%.
But though you can clearly see that they've gone backwards in terms of the way that they're playing. I don't think that it's anything too concerning to worry about long term. Obviously, I've put out that video about how I think the West Coast are going to, play finals in a couple of years' time and all of that jazz. And are we getting carried away? The truth's probably somewhere in the middle. Results like this aren't going to kill your momentum going forward in years to come, but it's just a hard pill to swallow. And that last quarter itself
that was demoralising.
Super demoralising. Yeah, it's a great word. And it looked like they gave up. But was a little bit deeper than that. We know that St Kilda, just the way they were playing really forced us to defend for a large parts of that. And the boys were also really tired, of course, and it was really hot in the stadium. Yeah, apparently it was 26 degrees or plus. So we did eventually win the ball back. Our guys were obviously spent and they'd try and work it out of the back line with that speedy ball use.
There's no ball movement.
And the fatigue and the pressure would create turnover, and then it's coming back the other way. The backs aren't set up, and it just led to goal after goal, and the cycle just kept repeating itself. So I think it's a little bit deeper than the boys just gave up. But we are getting a little bit tired of hearing the cop-out in the press conferences that it's a young side and,
Well, like you said, mate, like we're a young side, but it's really the older players that aren't showing up in these games.
100%.
We're seeing a lot of good performances out of our young players, especially Willem and Lindsay last week, that these senior boys are just not showing up. And that is what is costing us those 2 100-point losses, is when the senior players aren't showing up for these younger players who are showing a lot of class at a young age.
100%. And that's great to see. And can't wait to delve into that a little bit this week. But in good news, mate, the WAFL Eagles notched up a third win this weekend.
How good.
3 in a row. So several young Eagles are hitting some strong form at the moment in the twos.
Yeah.
And we expect there's going to be some changes made this week and hope for a better game against the winless Tigers.
Surely.
Although they are going to be pretty hungry to get on the board, as we've sort of alluded to before.
Seeing a lot of Tigers podcasts up for this one. Seeing a lot of Tigers fans. This could be our one win this year.
Yeah. They'll definitely be feeling that confidence coming in. But hey, just before we jump into the game, you mentioned some of the youth there that have been playing really well. Let's have a quick look at some of our best for the day, because we had the same 5 players and they're all either relatively new to the team or below that 21 age bracket. So who is your best on, mate?
My best on was Willem for this week. 25 touches, 21 of them being kicks, 11 marks, 6 score involvements, 4 intercepts and 3 clearances. Had the matchup on Naz, which was interesting to see that McQualter came out in the press conference and said that Willem actually came up to him personally and said that he wanted that matchup in the game, showing a lot of maturity, as we've mentioned past in this podcast, showing a lot of initiative. Just great to see that our number 1 draft pick is definitely living up to the hype of being that number 1 draft 100%.
Pick. He's got to be leading the rising star, doesn't he?
Oh, surely, right? Come on.
He's one of the most impressive young talents that I've seen coming through in a couple of years. And obviously, we've all been following the draft really closely. But yeah, no, it's great to see. And I heard one of the commentators, can't remember who it was, but they sort of said he's going to be unplayable in a couple of years.
Yeah.
And it's so true. When you think about what he's doing now already, not only is he inexperienced at the AFL level, but he's also still very small.
He's a smaller frame.
He's got a lot of muscle to go. Like when you think about the evolution of Nat Fyfe's body over the years and how he was able to turn into this contested beast, we're still going to see that from Willem in the future with all the pace, the aerial ability, the leap and the skills and the goal sense.
And a bit of bont as well.
Yeah, so much bont about him.
Says this guy's a little bont.
You're always cautious to say that, but no, it's great to see. And it's nothing that we didn't already know, to be fair. My best on was Ruben as well. And again, nothing that we don't already know. This guy's just an absolute marshal in the back line. He had 7 marks, 6 intercepts, 2 tackles. And one of the commentators dubbed him as the Great Wall of Jinby, which I love.
Whoa.
I really, really like that.
So good.
Hopefully we can get that to stick. But no, we touched on before we started recording that play where Nazia's running down the wing and Jinby's tracking him closely. It ends up with Jack Higgins kicking a goal. And we see Ruben run past 8
Eagles boys
to get there and end up knocking Higgins over after the goal. He wasn't able to get there to effect the kick properly.
But the pure intent, isn't it? Just to get
insane.
there. Far out. It's just...
And you see he's filthy with himself after that.
Oh,
and it's like, that's
why are you filthy, mate?
I think
You're
that's
putting in all the hard
most.
yards.
Yeah, it's hard to see him just beating himself up when he's out there giving more than most of his teammates. Josh Lindsay as well. I had him second best on. You had him with the 3 votes.
Yeah.
31 disposals going at 90% efficiency, 20 of those kicks, 7 intercepts, 7 rebound 50s, and doing a lot of the contested work, which is something that has been a concern for his game coming in. There was worries that he was going to get exposed defensively. We haven't really seen that this year.
No, 100%.
Too much. He's been great. He's been spending a lot of time with Shannon Hearn in the big shed there at the Eagles, doing a lot of extras and learning his craft off one of the best defenders that we've ever, he's in that top 10 for sure, Shannon 100%. Hearn, probably even higher. So that's great to see.
Definitely happy with him. Definitely his best game I've seen him play. Taking a lot of the kick-in duties. Obviously, I think Marek was put out to the wing, which was good to see.
Yeah, he was quite handy too, wasn't he?
He was quite handy, yeah.
Yeah, on return.
In our second vote, we had Harley Reid as well. 27 touches, the goal. 16 contested possessions and 7 clearances. Just a pretty stock standard performance from Harley. Obviously, in a 100-point losing side, it's going to be a struggle for him to make any impact coming out of the middle. But yeah, it was just a gritty performance from him. Didn't see many mistakes from him during the game,
100%.
which was good.
Doing the tough stuff in the contest.
Yeah, that's what we want to see.
He definitely needs a little bit more contested support, which we'll touch on in the next segment. And then Tyler Young, we had in for the 1 vote, both of us, and I thought it was easily his best game. And
100%.
that first half was almost flawless in the way that he was able to peel off. He finally got a matchup that suits him. And for a lot of people that have been doubting Tyler Young, he's been playing a role that wasn't sold to him when he came across to West Coast as our fullback essentially. So he finally gets a matchup that suits him playing on Liam Ryan, who did end up exposing him a couple of times. That first goal that he kicked was, there's nothing Tyler could do about that, just classy body work that we know Liam Ryan can bring. And then a couple of the other ones that he got off the chain once the inside forward 50 started flooding in for St Kilda. But 18 disposals. He uses the ball so well, going at 89%.
Yeah, underrated.
10 intercepts was the big one.
Yeah.
We were finally seeing that intercept play, and this is why he's going to be so valuable for us across centre half back, higher up the ground, is because he can turn that over. And that means that Jinby and Edwards in the last line of defence get saved a few more times. And then he can kickstart the play with his ball use. And all of a sudden you've turned defence into offence with 1 possession across half back. So hopefully we can see Harry Edwards come in over the next few weeks and sort of get that game going.
So, yeah.
But we will get into a new segment now called The Breakdown, and that's quite literally what we're going to do. We're going to break down the breakdown that we saw out there on the field, mate, because it was shocking, and we want to know where these 100-point losses come from, what makes them happen. And so sort of a bit of a melting pot today. We'll just get through this one. But the first point and what actually went wrong started in the midfield, as it so often does.
Yeah.
Smashed in clearances and centre clearances in particular, with Nazai getting off the chain there. What did he have? Almost 40 touches.
40 touches, yeah.
Close to
at least.
They smashed us in contested possessions. They smashed us in tackles as well.
Yeah.
We're starting to see that lack of a defensive midfielder, aren't we? So once St Kilda were able to win the centre clearance, they owned the territory and got all the repeat entries.
Yeah. Once we lose guys like Devon, Jack, who have we got as our defensive mid? Yoey, Harley, Tim Kelly. These guys are all offensive, first-minded players. And once we lose a guy like that, we might need to add another guy like that in the WAFL.
100%.
Defensively more aware, because we're just going to get overrun each and every week if all our players are going forward-minded and are not willing to do the hard yards defensively to create a passage of play where we can get the ball back in the middle and we can do the defensive hard yards. We're not getting a guy who's getting high tackles in the game like Dev and Jack Graham were. So, yeah, we're just going to be stuck having to do a lot of unnecessary defending that we could have possibly
absolutely
attacking in these games.
You just put yourself under the pump, and as you said perfectly there, when there's no pressure on the ball carrier coming out of stoppage, all those entries going inside forward 50 for a guy like Nazai, who's such a good ball user already, they can pinpoint and hit up targets that are leading. Like forwards are always going to have a bit of an advantage on their defender.
100%.
So if they're able to get separation and there's no pressure on the ball carrier whatsoever, no wonder you're seeing marks inside forward 50 so easily. So the contest and territory game are absolutely everything. In the AFL, as we know, it has been like that for years.
If you don't compete, you just can't win in these games. And we'll get to know how they can tidy up a bit later. And defensive system was just a complete collapse, really. Conceding 22 goals, defenders losing their one-on-one battles, poor defensive transition. The connection between our mids and our backs was just not there. Really amateur.
Looks really, it does. It looks like amateur,
right? Yeah.
Yeah. It's hard to watch at times, and that's a lack of communication and leadership down there. And so that 8 unanswered goals in the final quarter there was more than just fatigue, as we alluded to before.
Yeah.
And if I'm a defender at West Coast, it'd be hard to be going into the rooms after the game and having a laugh with your teammates.
Yeah.
Wouldn't know that you're under the pump all day because of the lack of pressure up the field. So that's definitely something that we need to address. We'll get to some solutions a little bit later, but in that second half, you can see there, as we said, St Kilda are hitting those short targets going inside forward 50 just way too easily, and it's demoralising.
100%. And you mentioned that pressure. I think our rating was like 150, something like that. Really poor. That's just not going to... We need to be upwards of 180, 200 to be competing at AFL level, and we're seeing with teams like Richmond and Bombers, when their pressure ratings are so low, they just get overrun in games.
And that's a mindset thing, isn't it?
It's 100% a mindset thing. It's just your one-on-one duties of, I'm going to mark my player. I'm going to be close to my player. If he gets the ball, I'm going to tackle that player. Yeah.
And we see way too much trailing and getting caught in no man's land, especially with the defenders. They're not sure whether to go. They're not sure whether to stay on their man when there's a 2-on-1. And that all gets created in the first place by lack of pressure up the field as well.
Yeah.
And then poor decision making. It's just too easy for the opposition. So I thought that we played into their hands again this week with our ball movement.
Yeah.
And that's probably the third thing that we need to address. And this is where the young side does get exposed. We've sort of given the senior players a fair whack this week, but the young guys can get caught in this situation with the decision making, positioning, and also the ball use under pressure as well. And that's all stuff that is going to come with time, so you can accept that. Right. But whenever they tried to control the ball, St Kilda's defence was just set up way too well.
So well. Silvani and Wilkie just
dominated. I know
you're a big
fan of those two.
Yeah,
they're really forming a really nice combo back there. And then they've got the runners off half back with Sinclair, one of the best in the biz. They've got quite an underrated back line down there, and they can be super damaging at times. And we weren't seeing enough overlap in handballs to sort of get that penetration with our kicks for our big keys.
Yeah.
If you have the footy, if you can get a runner coming past and flick the hands over the top with that stand rule interpretation, you can then take a little bit more ground, 3 or 4 more steps, and you can either get, an extra 10 metres on your kick and sort of catch the defenders out of position, or if your forwards lead up to you because now the backs are, caught off guard a little bit, you can get some separation there. So we're not seeing enough overlap handball, which I thought was part of the game style.
I think that's what we wanted to do, but just you could see like Lindsay running to the outside and people ignoring. We were trying to slow the game down a lot more than we shouldn't have. But I think we should have really took the game on and got players like Shanahan and Jake into the game and Jack.
Because they're really good lead-up players, aren't they?
100%.
Like all three of those you just mentioned, that's where they thrive, in those little lead-ups to the short inside 50 kicks, coming from the overlap handballs and getting the opportunities that way. So on a positive note, it was good to hear one of the commentators did mention that they were always looking for the corridor when they got the footy. So that's good to see. Like, we know the stats don't lie in the way that the threat per disposal rating on the AFL player ratings is really high for West Coast. They're always looking to attack, and this is why we are getting exposed defensively, unfortunately. But that's just the way the Mini wants to play. I was more frustrated, though, in that fourth quarter when they were clearly spent and out of tickets, and they just kept trying to get that surge game going, and it just kept coming back
in, turnover.
Yeah, just all the time. They'd cut it off, move it out, and they'd try and absolutely run and gun. There's nothing up forward because everyone's in defensive mode.
That's right.
And then turnover, bang, defense is out of position, goal. So that was kind of annoying to see, and I think that that's the evolution. We've been barking on about it for weeks, but they need to bring in the control game at the right time, and that's an on-field leadership thing. The coach can't get out there and do that for them.
100%.
And so, I suppose that's the question. Do you want to crawl to the line and try and scrape through for a 70-point loss, or do you just want to keep trying to play your way, try and get a bit of a score on the board, and you risk losing by 100 points? That's the questions that Minnie and the coaching group will be asking, and at the moment they're choosing to back their style in and going hammer and tongs. So it's leading to some demoralising losses, mate, but that's just the way they want to play, and it'll be interesting to see if they look to tidy it up. If they do want to tidy it up, mate, what needs to change?
Well, there's a lot that really needs to change, mate. Simplifying the stoppage structure, really. Adding a defensive mid. We talked about this a bit earlier with Jack Graham and Dev Robertson coming out. We need to find that balance in our midfield. So guys like Finn McRae, even Bakes. Bakes has been put into so many different roles in his career. Started at half-back this year, and then they've pushed him as a half-forward, high-pressure forward. Hasn't really shown the John Woolsford medalist that we had last year. Just little impact. Maybe we just need to keep switching him around until we can find a solid position for him.
And in fairness, like, we did want him to go forward. Well, I know I certainly
we definitely said that he should have gone forward.
But clearly just the impact isn't, we're not getting enough out of him.
Yeah, 100%. And guys like Finn McRae and Clay Hall all knocking on the door, especially with these consecutive wins in the WAFL, which we'll get into a bit later. But yeah, guys like Reed and Kelly and Yo, they need that guy in there to do all the tough yards and to get the ball out so that they can impact the game. So yeah, Dersma obviously having a crack. Yeah, of course.
Why? I don't know why we've gone away from it.
Yeah, I know.
But Dersma, as you said,
he had a crack, but obviously lacks that physicality, and at that stoppage at his age, he just hasn't built that frame to be that extra big body mid that he obviously can be in the future, but he just hasn't built his game up to that. Only played the certain amount of minutes in the guts. Obviously stepping up this week, playing against arguably probably the best player in the competition, which is great to see.
Definitely one of.
100%. And yeah, Dev Robertson and Jack Graham, these roles are honestly underrated for our team. They provide such a huge role, which we just haven't seen in the last few weeks. And we're going to probably have to need a replacement for that. And we'll obviously get to that a bit later. And obviously our defensive structure, which we've obviously got into quite a few times. In that first half, I think we looked good, especially Tyler Young with our intercept. Obviously got the 10 intercepts for the day, which is really good to see. But as the third tall, that's what you want to see against like a hybrid like Liam Ryan. And was really able to peel off as that intercepting centre half back, saving our last line of defence in obviously Ruben Jimby and Sandy Brock, who are those other guys who play on the taller forwards, the number ones and number twos. But yeah, that's what we've missed since obviously McGovern retired, that centre, true intercepting centre half back who can turn defence into offense, break the game open. Like McGovern used to do, he'd intercept the ball and just do a pinpoint ball and break the game open. Which
most teams have one, and we're lacking that for sure.
We're really lacking that position.
We thought Harry Edwards might come in and that'll free Tyler Young up, but it's not going to be this week.
Yeah.
We'll get to the changes a little bit later, but so Minnie, if you're listening, mate, we need a fullback. We need a defensive midfielder back in.
Yeah, mate.
And then the forward pressure as well is probably the third thing that needs to change as well. And the forward line just looks incredibly stagnant. And it's quite frustrating to watch, and that can translate to the forward 50 entries getting spat back out and turning into turnovers at centre-half forward.
Yeah.
And then teams, as we know, cut you up on the way back with Sinclair and Isaiah Wanganeen Miller are just running all day. So I'd be interested to see if Jack Williams keeps his spot because he looked quite disinterested out there at times. We've been calling for this whole year, but they're really steadfast on having so many talls in the lineup.
Yeah,
but
really
do they drop Jack Williams for a guy like Tom Gross?
I like it.
If they bring in Matt Flynn this week, that might be something they look at. We'll get to the changes a little bit later, but Matt always kicked 5 as well, so he could slot in as a pressure forward. Yeah. I'm interested to see if we get sucked into that again because it seems like he comes in, he goes out, plays well, comes in, gets dropped. So it's going to be interesting, but we've called for Bakes to have a go at half forward, and he's that pressure guy. But I think we've got a few players that can fill that role, and it's a hard role to play.
Oh, of course.
So it can Bakes be better utilised in that midfield role? Could his leadership be better in the back line, setting up the troops? Because that defensive layer as well, the structure relies on leadership and vocal leadership, and so if that's not working, maybe Bakes needs to be back there. But that's definitely something that I'm going to be keeping an eye on. And hey, while we're at it, mate, looking to next week, there's no major injuries that we know of coming out of that game, which is a massive positive. But you'd think that there'll be some changes based on form. So what would you like to see them do in terms of changes ahead of the Tigers?
Well, yeah, look, mate. Well, you can't argue how well the WAFL program has been going in the last few weeks. A lot of players who have been putting in the hard yards, putting in a lot of good effort, and obviously getting success out of that. You mentioned the names. Obviously, Harry Edwards, unfortunately, looming a return from concussion, will be forced back into the WAFL. We understand that, obviously, coming up a
good to have him back.
Just good to have him back in the system at some point, and hopefully he's wearing the nice big helmet and he's getting protection because he's a very important piece to our defensive line with Jimmy and Youngie, obviously. And with that in mind, with big key backs, maybe we look to go to a Bazo, but honestly, I don't see that happening. I think his Mini is set on these 3 tall defenders.
Clearly.
Yeah, he keeps persisting with the Sandy, Ruben and Young lineup. Yeah, we just really need to look to the draft or look to in the off-season.
Maybe even the mid-season draft.
Even the mid-season draft to get a key defender. Obviously, big players in the past coming out of these drafts in Tom Stewart and these guys that could possibly turn a team around. And these players are so important for lists in winning premierships. And we've got Jimby, obviously, who's going to be that guy for a long period of time. But
there's a couple of really nice key defenders in the draft this year, so no doubt they'll be looked at. But you sort of want one that can come in and is ready to go. So you wonder with a couple of list spots open, maybe they do attack a key back there and then draft one as well for the future. Yeah,
for sure. And look, we said it last time on the podcast with this guy and been in the WAFL for a long time, Tommy Gross, just been overlooked for the past few weeks. He's just been putting in performance after performance after performance. 20 touches on the weekend, 3 goals. The week before he got like 30 and a couple of goals. Like this guy's just too good for the level. So does this guy come in for even a Hamish Davis who hasn't been showing the best performance? Even Elijah Hewitt hasn't looked good the past 2 weeks. Probably his better game was this game, but couldn't really impact. And Ryan Marrick, who was just stuck on the wing, was probably his best position as a wingman or I think he's a certainty at this point with the way the last few weeks have been going. And we just need a guy like him with a youthful energy to come in.
He brings the go, doesn't he? Like he just has a crack.
I remember one of his first games, he just kicked that goal from 50 against GWS or something like that. And just electrifying young talent. And we just need these boys to be playing minutes. If he's just being wasted really in the WAFL, like he's obviously getting those good numbers, the 30 touches.
It's good confidence building.
A good confidence building, but he knows that in himself, I reckon he knows that he's ready for this AFL level. And we saw glimpses of that last year and
just has a crack, which we love.
Yeah, 100%. And obviously, do we go for a second ruck? Do we even go even taller and we get Matt Flynn to come in? Obviously, Bailey Williams individually had the most hit-outs for the day with the 20, but obviously we lost the hit-outs.
Richmond don't have a ruck.
Yeah, really.
Like they're playing Oliver Hayes-Brown, who's a rookie.
Yeah.
And obviously he's having a go, but he's not setting the world on fire. And then Noah Bolter in the ruck as well, which was kind of funny. So this is a real opportunity for them to get a bit of ascendancy if they want to.
Yeah, so do we just dominate that? Do we get Baz and Flynn in the game and we just totally dominate hit-outs?
You can play Baylor Williams forward and Cooper Duff Tyler can have a rest.
Gonna say that. Do we put Baz as that ruck rover forward type player and get a contested mark, get a few goals like he did last year and in years prior? And just be good to see if we can dominate a midfield battle this week against a young midfield in Richmond. And
it's one of our better chances. They've got a few good ones in Taranto. It's pretty handy. And he normally has a pretty big day against us. But it's definitely a good opportunity. So it'll be interesting to see where they go with that.
And do we do the old switcheroo, as they say? And do we bring Owies back in for champion again? Look, I hope that doesn't happen, really. I think we give Owies a bit more time in the WAFL. Only one game or two games, really. Malachi offers a much bigger threat, in my opinion, down forward with his pressure and his ball use. And
he actually does. And the numbers aren't showing that.
Yeah,
but he's quicker, he's cleaner at ground level.
Yeah.
His finishing is actually really good when he gets the opportunities. Obviously, the two games he's played, mate, have been 100-plus point losses. So the worst days possible for a small forward. Now, inside forward 50 entries have been shocking. So
100%.
Really tough for him. But we've sort of done that, haven't we? We bring Matt Owies in, he disappoints, and then we drop him, and he goes back to the WAFL, and he's clearly a really good state league level player, and he kicks a bag, comes back in, and then before you know it, he's the whipping boy again. So I don't think that a 5-goal haul is going to change him as a player. I think we know what we're getting there.
Yeah.
So hopefully they give Malachi another week because it sucked to see him brought in, 100-point loss, out, and then the same again.
It's just stupid, to be honest. Just give these guys a bit more time to get AFL minutes into them.
Were there any other changes that you had?
Look, I had Finn McRae as well. We brought him over after his stint in Collingwood and been showing great signs in the WAFL. Really versatile player, can go as a forward, back, mid. That's what we sort of brought him in for, and it's great to see. Hopefully he can get a second shot at AFL.
Ball use is a bit of a knock, and he doesn't really hurt you too much, and he can actually hurt you, the team he's playing for, with his turnovers. But he's hard at it. He wins the contest, and if he's the handball receive sort of guy who's feeding it out to the Harley Reeds, and he's running both ways, obviously has a good tank and some experience as well, coming from a good system in Collingwood. So I think that it's a no-brainer to bring him in potentially as that defensive anchor because we've been shown up without it.
Yeah, and hopefully just with these changes that we can get another win. Obviously, Tigers have been really poor, haven't got a win for the season yet.
Probably need to win this one.
Probably need to win this one if we're Eagles. We've beaten North Melbourne, we've beaten Port Adelaide. Obviously, two of the lesser teams in the competition, but Port put a number on Geelong. I don't know if you saw that on the weekend. Yeah, weird one. Dad had Port Adelaide in his tip and had Geelong in his tipping. He was pretty fuming with that one. That was his only one he got wrong for the weekend, so he wasn't happy with that.
Oh no, you'd be filthy with that.
Filthy with that, but
if the Eagles are serious about themselves, they should be winning this game.
100%.
We know the Tigers are going to come to play as they did last year because it's probably their grand final, really.
100%.
But hey, while we are talking about some of the players that played well in the WAFL, mate, we will just recap quickly some of those performers. Mish's WAFL Wrap is up at the moment on Instagram.
Again, obviously.
Thank you for that at Golden Wings Podcast on Instagram. But a really good get this week, mate. Finally getting the better of the Swannies. I think it's been 12 straight losses or something like that.
Yeah.
But so run us through some of the players. I'll jump in and we'll do some quick fire.
Yeah, we'll do quick fire. Obviously, Tommy Gross, 22 touches, who we mentioned previously, 3 goals. Just clearly too good for WAFL, and we're going to keep saying it. And I hope you guys in the comments do comment on this guy because this guy is just too good for WAFL.
He gets a lot of love.
If you watch the WAFL, then you know this guy is just sitting there being wasted. Obviously, Finn McRae ended up with 26 touches. Keep putting himself on selection radar, and hopefully he can come in as that defensive anchor in our midfield and just provide opportunities for Harley and Yowie and Tim Kelly to show their skills on the outside and to create more inside 50 entries. And Tyler Dura as well, 21 touches, obviously has AFL attributes, but what do we work with him? Do we play him as a half back? We've mentioned it previously, do we put him as a half forward, which I think we brought him in initially for as that half forward pressure forward, and he's just pretty good user of the footy as well. But what do we do with him? Obviously, Jack Hutchinson.
What do they do with Hutch?
What do they do with Hutch?
Yeah, he found his groove a little bit on the weekend, which is good, the 20 touches.
Yeah.
Second game back, is he ready to come back into the AFL side? Probably not from a fitness perspective, but we could use him as well as that Even as a pressure midfielder, probably not the guy that we want to be turning to, but he's played that role in the past.
Yeah.
But it's just going to be good to have another senior body out there.
Right.
People forget he is probably almost 25 at this stage, similar to Tom McCarthy. So just lifts that age profile. He's got a good running ability. He's clean with the footy. Matt Owens as well, the 5 goals from 12 disposals. Do we get sucked in again? Only time will tell, but a great game, and he deserves his flowers because he cops a lot from the supporters. But no, great game from him. And then Matt Flynn as well. 40 disposals. 40 disposals.
40 disposals.
40
hit
outs.
What a game.
16 touches and 8 marks off the 40 hit outs. He could feast on Richmond's ruck stocks, as we said. So definitely one to keep an eye on. Let us know, as always, in the comments who you would like to see come in from a changes perspective. Love getting through those. And a big thank you again for joining us this week. Last episode for a few weeks, mate. It is a bit sad. We've got seeding time back on at the farm. So I'll be in the tractor, driving up and down for a few weeks. We toyed with the idea of trying to keep the show rolling, but the logistics just didn't quite
can't work out,
line up. So
guys, sorry for that.
We'll be back in a few weeks.
100%.
Some winnable games on the horizon, mate. So it's bad timing from our part. We won't be able to review them, but hopefully some wins for everyone to enjoy. And the run home to the bye looks pretty good. So
have a great week, guys, and tune in again, Golden Wingers. We'll hope to see you soon.
Chat soon.
Well, thank you, Golden Wingers, obviously, for watching the podcast. Please take a moment to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Follow along on our Spotify and Apple podcasts. Leave us a 5-star rating. And please make sure to follow along on @GoldenWingsPodcast on Instagram so you don't miss out on things throughout the week. And most importantly, if you have a friend, family member who loves the West Coast Eagles, please tell them to watch along and to put in a good word for the podcast for us. Much appreciated. We'll see you soon, guys. We will be back eventually. We'll be back. Seating is really important for Kurt to be there. But bye for now, guys. And thanks for tuning in.